On September 1st, 1939, the German invasion of Poland set the catalyst for what would become the deadliest struggle in the history of the world, World War II. The following atrocities against the Jewish people still shock the world today, standing as a tragic tale of what humanity is capable of when pushed to its limits. Despite the horrific blight on the Jewish people, a few brave men and women stood up to give aid. This video tells the story of a diplomat who, using travel visas, saved over 5,000 Jewish lives between 1939 and 1945. Hello, and welcome to Cracked History Facts. Today, we'll be breaking down the journey of Jewish refugees who were forced to escape from Poland through to Japan and onward. We will also be delving into the heroic life and actions of a Japanese diplomat, Chiune Sugihara. The atrocities that took place during World War II have become common knowledge. We still advise viewer discretion as some of the events retold in this video are extremely sad and devastating. Thankfully, with people like Chiune Sugihara, we can still hope for the restoration of humanity. Both wars had a massive impact on the state of the world. There have been countless books, series, and movies detailing the atrocious events during these times. Regarding the Second World War, the attempted genocide of the Jewish people is something that has shocked and continues to shock the world over. The success of the Germans in their attempt to eradicate and exterminate the Jewish people from their homelands is vastly understated. What few seldom understand is how close the Germans came to full-scale genocide. Regarding the Jewish children, only 6 to 11% of Europe's population survived, 33% of adults. The death rate is even worse when considering Poland's invasion and occupation. A total of 5,000 children, out of a previous population of 1 million, were killed, a death rate of 99.9%. With the expansion of Germany under the leadership of Hitler and the National Socialist Party, the Jewish people faced extreme pressure to flee and find refuge in neighboring countries. However, out of fear and disinterest, many countries declined the refugee status of the fleeing Jewish people. Unfortunately, millions of Jewish people perished simply because no one would take them in. The German annexation of European countries forced Jewish refugees to flee and find solace in neighboring countries. A significant event at the time was when the United States refused to accept 900 refugees who had escaped from Germany. Despite most countries declining the entrance of Jewish refugees, countries like China, Switzerland, Spain, Palestine, the Dominican Republic, and Lithuania accepted and did their best to take on as many as they could. Lithuania, in particular, had a considerable number of refugees, so much so that 1/3 of their urban population was Jewish refugees. The issue refugees had when seeking asylum was acquiring what was known as an exit visa. An exit visa is a legal document that allows a person to leave their country. During times of war, this can be extremely difficult. The pressure for Jewish refugees to leave Lithuania was exacerbated in late 1940 and early 1941 when the Soviet Union declared that one must take on Soviet citizenship or leave. It may be surprising that in July of 1940, Japan began accepting large amounts of refugees based on the condition that they would pass through Russia, Japan, and then carry on to a third country in the Western Hemisphere. In order to find refuge through Japan, many Jewish people needed to buy tickets for the Trans-Siberian train, which cost around $200, the equivalent of $4,000 by today's standards. Most Jewish refugees did not have the money for visas and train tickets, so several organizations, such as the Joint Distribution Committee, set out to help the suffering people. However, upon arriving at the dock for Japan, the Soviets would confiscate the money and possession of the Jewish refugees, leaving them destitute and without the documents necessary to carry on once they've arrived in Japan. Because of the Russian soldiers' intervention, thousands of Jewish people found themselves stranded in Japan without any means to return home or carry on to another country. By March of 1941, there were an estimated 2,000 Jewish people in Japan. A Japanese diplomat, Chiune Sugihara, decided to take matters into his own hands. Sugihara realized that most Jewish refugees lacked the documents to carry exit visas and began investing in the pursuit of helping. Sugihara began permitting visas to Jewish refugees despite not meeting the appropriate requirements. Sugihara began writing visas at an unprecedented rate, producing a month's worth in a single day. Records from witnesses report that Sugihara would not stop writing the visas and carried on writing when in the car, transiting between destinations. Succeeding in the events of the visas, Sugihara relocated from Japan to East Prussia, where he served as a consul general in Prague. Sugihara was later arrested with his family and detained in a prisoner of war camp, where he spent 18 months. Upon returning to Japan, the diplomat fired Sugihara from his position at the embassy due to the thousands of visas he permitted. Historians and scholars estimate that Sugihara's efforts saved 4,500 to 6,000 Jewish lives. Sugihara is now recognized as a war hero in countries worldwide, with Lithuania, in particular, holding special memorial days once a year. In 1983, Fuji Television in Japan released a documentary called One Visa: The Japanese Who Saved 4,500 Jews. Later, in 1985, Sugihara was also received the Righteous Among the Nations honor from the Israeli government. World War II continues to shed light on the atrocities humans can commit when pushed to their limits. However, World War II also reveals the lengths one will go to save a fellow man. The Jewish refugees were at the mercy of the world's leaders, and while the majority turned them away, a few heroic people and nations stood up and provided aid where they could. Stories like the one told in today's video reveal that we can have faith in humanity, as while most people are doing what is wrong, there will always be some brave enough to stand up and do what is right. Something to take away with you is that during the time the Jewish people were stranded in Kobe, Japan, the citizens of Kobe were extremely hospitable and kind to the refugees, taking them into their homes. Thank you for watching, and until next time.